complain, but every year when I go to the Remembrance Day service, wherever I go, in Toronto, I hear In Flanders Fields read, and it is always read either badly or incompetently or just plain badly. You know, poetry is not very complicated, but it's pretty complicated. So here, I'm gonna just lay out some basics for all you would-be readers of McCrae's poem in the future, as if I know, as if I know. Okay, first of all, in Flanders fields the poppies blow. They do not grow, they blow. And if you want an example of that word used very well, John Milton on the death of a fair infant dying of a cough. O fairest flower, no sooner blown, but blasted. In other words, no sooner born, but carried away. Now, in the worst way. So that's why the poppies blow. They don't blow because the wind's blowing. They don't blow for any other possible reason. They blow because there they are born between the crosses. In the midst of death ye are in life, and vice versa. Anyway, so there's that. Okay, calm down. Second thing, the whole poem has a strange weight, which you would not think it would have, given that it's in iambic tetrameter. That is to say, 4-foot lines, not 5-foot lines. Not, shall I compare thee to a summer's day, but in Flanders fields, stop. The poppies blow, stop. What is this? It's Old English verse. It's basically the epic that preceded Milton's canonizing the iambic pentameter line as epical for English speakers. Well, this is an older form, very old, ancient form, the 4-beat, line with epic weight, which it should not carry, but it does. And whenever a poem does this, like Yeats's Easter 1916, pay attention. It's got something. It's got something that ordinary words don't have. Most of the lines are like that, with that Caesura, the one that's in Flanders fields, break, the poppies blow, break, between the crosses, break, row on row. Not perfect, but close. So I'll try the whole thing without being too irritating. Oh, maybe that's a lost cause. Anyway, in Flanders fields. In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place. And in the sky the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard, amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you, from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields. My goodness, that is one spooky poem. I'll tell you a few things about it. First of all, it was a very widespread belief during the First World War that the dead were actively, and I mean actively, fighting alongside of their living comrades. Secondly, there's a very good painting to this effect that Walter Allward, the man who designed Vimy Ridge, was aware of, because it shows the Vimy monument being sort of carried by the dead. But there's another even better one by a Canadian war artist, which I don't have at my fingertips, which shows Highlanders going forward, Canadian Highlanders going forward to the attack, and half of them are dead. They don't have any blood in their veins. They look strangely gray. It's like, what's going on here? It's the dead fighting alongside of the living. And then if you read an account like Ghosts of Warm Hands, then you realize, whoa, like, there were some major visitations going on here at the front, whether they were real or not. This is not whatever real means. If you want to talk about real in the context of the death and dying of the First World War, I suggest you take off your hat and pause. But anyway, the long and the short of it is, it was a well-substantiated and common belief in the First World War that the dead, like as in my friend Buddy over there, was still fighting beside me against that enemy Fritz over there. It's a very specific belief. It's not some sort of romantic, if ye break faith with us, I'll get to that in a moment. So when he says we are the dead, he's not saying we're out of this. He's saying we are the dead. You're the living. We're still on the same battlefield, which is why to you, now to you, that's a different, I have that feeling that you is you in the present, you and me. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. For why? To keep on fighting till the Germans have the shit kicked out of them. That's for why. This is a very belligerent poem, written at a very sad time in civilization's murky past, when people thought, well, this is still the right cause, but my God, it's costing just about everything, and we're not getting very far. Given all those peaceful little things, if you can take that in, then you can recite In Flanders Fields, or at least you can listen to it. It's a very moving poem. McCrae basically died. Well, I don't know what he died of. My guess is he died of something called soldier's heart. I think the war just basically broke him. He was also, this is not really provable, but it's well, suggested that he was very fond of Margaret MacDonald, who was the head of the Canadian nurses overseas, and a super competent woman and an astonishing woman. To think of McCrae, who was a doctor, and MacDonald, who was a highly qualified nurse, not to mention a major in the Canadian Expeditionary Force, to think of the two of them having a correspondence is extraordinarily heartbreaking. Of course, she destroyed all her correspondence and his whatever. We have no record of it whatsoever. That doesn't matter. We do know that they were on the same boat over to the Boer War about 14 years before, and at that time he said quite loudly, oh, women should not be coming over to the Boer War, and sort of Margaret MacDonald, I think, got her own back by basically, sort of, now that you're in love with me, what do you think about us being at the front? But that's all conjecture. Anyway, so, yeah, so I should calm down, but I'll just try it one more time, just cause. In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amidst the guns below. We are the dead. I'll pause on that one for just a moment because something has occurred to me. Well, first, a couple of things have occurred to me. First of all, McCrae was originally a gunner, and by that I mean he was an artilleryman, and he loved his guns. Okay? I mean, this is just, I'm not trying to suggest that you have to be a warmonger to read this poem. I'm just trying to contextualize it. Canadians actually believed in this fight. They didn't think, oh, this is a waste of time, or oh, we were not being led very well, or oh, they thought, this was it, and we did extraordinarily well. There's, I'm getting over technical, what the hell. Below, the rhyme is lovely. The rhymes are very strange in this poem. It's like a broken sonnet. Those last lines in Flanders Fields, they're half lines, and they just end with nothing. It's as if that poem has sort of had the corners kicked out of it by someone who just sort of like, oh, I don't have the time or the trouble to tell you, or whatever But, yeah, faith is a very key word there. The sleep of the dead is very interesting. I think part of it, a friend of mine just suggested this over the phone. He suggested that we shall not sleep is actually a threat. Like we will come and haunt you actively, although we're underneath these poppies. And of course, I'm leaving out the biggest thing. Poppies are traditionally associated with remembrance. They're also associated with sleep, and they're also associated with oblivion, not to mention, like drugs. So it's, not to mention that they were there. And also the other thing which I would further say, now that I'm going on about everything, the Western Front is a very, very, very moving place to visit, not least because the graveyards, especially those maintained by the Commonwealth Graves Commission, are astonishingly, unbelievably, and conscientiously down to the last conceivable letter T, cared for by the Commonwealth Graves Commission, which for no other reason than honoring the dead, do honor the dead in ways that just the work they do is exemplary. But I want to point out something very, very important. Remembrance Day, when it was initiated in Canada, was that the opportunity for soldiers and families, remember half of them had suffered war dead, the other half had suffered death from the Spanish flu. I mean, it was just the death in 1919, 1920, when this observance was instituted, was so thick. I mean, there wasn't a family that hadn't lost someone or someone's practically, I don't know, just extreme, insane amounts of death. So when they got together, they said, Remembrance Day. What is this? It's a chance for us, the living, to remember them, the dead. Not one Canadian veteran ever thought in their wildest dreams, oh, it's a time for the living over here in Canada that didn't go overseas to remember little old me. The Canadian veterans of the Great War were humble men and women. They wore berets, they dressed in slacks and sports coats. They wore sunglasses at Vivi during the opening. Beyond that, forget it. They were not militarists. They sure as heck fire didn't need or expect anyone to say, "Oh, thanks, Bob, for going overseas for me." I mean, Bob was very busy remembering his dearest friends who were dead. And that's what the Remembrance and Remembrance Day means. Now, fortunately for most of us, we don't have servicemen or women to remember who are dead, because hopefully they're still alive. But lots of Canadians do. Those are the people that Remembrance Day is meant to remember, and I would personally extend that to absolutely anyone who has ever given their life for anyone, ever, for any reason. If I had my druthers, we would say this publicly at Remembrance Day. Here is the origin, what we do with it now. Anyone that gave their life for you, whoever they are, whenever, whatever, if it's legit to you, if you think, oh, they actually gave their life for me, if you can understand that, remember them on that day. It's a very, very just and proper thing to do. Now, I do apologize for all my ranting, but you don't have to listen to this nonsense. I have nothing else to say about the poem. I should say more. Just that, take up our quarrel with the foe. That always used to sort of, so I'll try it one more time without whatever. By the way, this poem did become unbelievably popular during the war, so that should tell you something. This is not typical, not even slightly typical. Most poets have no time for this poem, but really, pay attention. It does things. In Flanders fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row that mark our place. And in the sky the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you, from failing hands, we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die. We shall not sleep. Though poppies grow in Flanders fields. I should have known I could have got through that one. Anyway, that's the end of today's lesson.